Hello, everybody, everyone on the internet world. This is the latest episode of the Fitness Reborn podcast. My name is Sean from Renaissance Fitness Personal Training, where we put movement ahead of workout. And my guest today is Toktam Thomas. All right, she is a mindset, a fitness, and nutrition and health coach. And she has, like I said before we started recording here, she's got a pretty remarkable background. Everyone I've talked to has a really great background. This is why they're on my show. But Toktam, I think, has a little bit more in her background, and I think it's really interesting. I want to go into it with her because all of it kind of like gels into the woman I'm speaking to today. And Toktam, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me, Sean. I'm very excited about this conversation.
Good. I'm glad you're on here too, because reading through your background and your profile, you're very open. You've been through, I think, more than most people in the first part of your life. You've been through more, and I think most people go through in their life, at least in the first world. So let's start with where we're at right now. So, how did you get into coaching people?
Honestly, it has always been part of me. I just didn't know. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know that this was my calling until I got to a point last year where I wasn't very comfortable in my life. And I had literally a moment where I said to my husband, I just cannot live a single day anymore like this. And so I'm not a religious person. So I don't belong to any organized religion, but I did go down on my knees and I really said, I need help. This is not going into the right direction and something needs to happen. So I went to bed that night, and the next morning I woke up and listened to a podcast. And I listened to the guest that was on, and everything he was saying resonated with me, and I felt a pull. So I researched that person and signed up with him. First coach I've ever hired in my 40 years. And I thought it was just a fitness journey maybe, but I felt something else about him. And this person just spoke to me, and everything he said resonated with me. And since then, my life has been upside down, literally, to a point that he said, you see what one person, it doesn't have to be your mom, it doesn't have to be your neighbor, it doesn't have to be somebody in your immediate family can do for you. And you can do that for other people as well. And not only can you do it, you owe it. You owe it to the world, and you just need to step into your true self. So ever since, I've been working relentlessly, literally every day, on not only becoming my true self, but also sharing my story, sharing how I overcame most of the things that you were talking about. So hoping that anybody who feels a connection with me now, even online, this is a beautiful way online to connect with people who are connected to you, to draw them in and to say, I have a system and you can try it for yourself. This is going to help you.
What was that breaking point that you spoke about where you just said, like, because that's a pretty big deal here. When you say you're not a religious person, you don't really follow a spiritual guide, so to speak. But then when you get to the point where you're so broken and desperate that you actually are going to pray to something that you don't necessarily believe in and ask for help. So what got you there?
It gives me the chills to think about it, really, because so even as a young adult or a young child, I always felt a connection to a higher power. I couldn't explain it. My mom raised me always talking about energy, and every person is so powerful. So she spoke always about these things. And I trusted as a child, and I lost the trust throughout, I would say, throughout my 20s, when I got domesticated. I just lost the trust and the faith in my future prosperity, that there's a higher power that always has my back. And that night, it was nothing that I thought about. I just know that my heart was broken about my life. And it wasn't, Sean, it wasn't like I have a horrible life. I just knew I wasn't doing the things that I'm supposed to do. I just knew I wasn't evolving into a direction that was meant for me. And I couldn't figure out and couldn't put my finger on it and say, this is what I need to do. This is why I'm here. This is my purpose. So I went down on my knees and I cried, and I said to my husband, if it wouldn't be for my children, I don't know what this life is about right now for me. What is it worth it? Why am I here? And I was deeply, deeply, deeply asking for help and guidance to find purpose. And I think, and I know, I see it now, so many people are struggling with it. And I know many of the answers now that I didn't know, because I am guided by a very, very strong person. But the more I learn, the more I realize I know nothing. I don't know anything. I'm not aware of 90% of my life, and I have to make it aware. That's my daily work. I have to be aware of the things. I have to make him aware, otherwise I can't change him.
Interesting. All right, so that was you. This was a year ago, you said?
It was last year in
Last year.
October.
Last year in October. Okay. So let's go back a little bit further here. So let's talk about your early life. So it's very storied. I'll just say that, and I'll let you take it the rest of the way. So yeah, just go on ahead.
Yes. And interrupt me, because these stories go on and they're long. Feel free to interrupt me if a question pops up. But I was basically raised in Iran for the first 3.5 years. Now, at the end of 70s, we had the revolution. So my parents chose to move out of Persia. And my mom took all three of us, I'm the youngest of three, and fled through Turkey. We couldn't take any papers, no passports, no birth certificate, no photos, nothing personal, because we were going on vacation, and nobody knew we were not coming back but my dad. My dad stayed back because it would have been too obvious that the family is leaving. So she fled, no little cash, but doesn't speak the language anywhere else. She went to Germany because she had a few friends in Germany, and most Iranian and Persian people fled to the US, LA. So she had some friends in Germany. We ended up there. And it was hard. I mean, it was hard for my mom. She didn't have any skills, any language skills. She didn't have barely any money, and she tried to start a new life there. I remember that she at some point went to a grocery store, filled up her cart, and said, I'm going to take this with me. I don't have any money, but my children are hungry. And so they called the police at the store, and from there on, the officials took over and helped her out through government money, which she didn't know that such things existed. So these are just challenges, going to school as young children and being different and being from an entire different culture. That was challenging for us. And about 6 months later, my dad joined us. And unfortunately, both of my parents were raised very challenged as well. So he had some trauma and pain, and he was very abusive towards my mom a lot. I remember towards me, towards my siblings. So he was not David Goggins style, but he was, you go into the room with a belt kind of situation, and then the door is shut. So, and again, I remember a scene. There are always these scenes that I remember, although I was very young, that are just imprinted in my head. And a scene where I did something, and my dad put me into this room, and he basically beat me down with his belt. And the fact that he was doing that was painful, but the fact that my mom was sitting in front of the door and not doing anything, that was worse for me, because now we're in a situation where your mom is not protecting you from these things. And really later, when I had my first child, that was even harder for me to digest, that you have such love for your children, and then you don't protect them when they get beat up. It doesn't matter by whom. It was something that I couldn't understand. To this day, I can't understand. So my mom decided to get divorced finally from my dad in Germany, which fortunately in Germany, because the mom gets the children, or she got the children. In Iran, it would have been the opposite. The dad would have gotten the children. And so she was struggling herself. She was really struggling being by herself now, having the 3 kids, and still she used to be a nurse in Iran, but not being able to work. She started cleaning houses and doing things that she did not enjoy, but she did it. And then she got together with this man, and this man brought drugs and alcohol into our house, which was the perfect storm for her. So she had all this trauma herself, and she went through more trauma as an adult. Now she has the kids. She did not enjoy her life. It was just too hard for her, and she didn't know a way out. So the drugs and alcohol were a perfect Band-Aid for her. And so she went all in. She was smoking every day, every night, opium. So she was sleeping a lot. And I was at that point basically raising myself from getting up in the morning, going to school, getting dressed. I did not take any food to school because I didn't know better. Sometimes we didn't even, she bought food at the beginning of the month when she got money, but then at the end of the month, there was not much left. And, that was all, that I was like 6, 7, 8, 9, and I was still top of my class at that point. So I always tried to protect her. I always tried to make it seem like nothing is going on at home. And but the teachers here and there noticed, because we went on trips and I didn't get picked up, and I never had food at school, and she never a single time showed up to any parent conferences or anything. And I still, I kind of knew something was going on, but I didn't realize how bad it was. Actually, I didn't realize how bad it was, honestly, Sean, until last year. I also had some therapy last year, until my therapist said, I just want to be clear in the beginning, because I said, I don't know if I have any problems. And she said, I just want to be clear. We have a scale from 1 to 8 to determine how big the trauma is. And you are 8 or beyond 8 from what you have filled out. And I said, okay. I didn't realize. I never knew how dramatic it was until I shared here and there and saw the reaction of people in their faces and thinking, what the heck did happen to you? So to that point, drugs and alcohol came into our lives, and I basically raised myself I just made it work until I couldn't, and I started slipping at school. I started not being so, interested in school. I started to find friends that were much older and introducing cigarettes and a little bit of drinking and a little bit of pot and all of that. And it went on for maybe 2-3 years. And about 10 when this is all a guess, because everything that happened basically between age 9 and 12 is a little bit of a blur for me. And I think my brain was just overloaded with trauma and feelings that I can't tell you exactly what age I was. So I was about 10 when I started saying, I can't live at home anymore. This is toxic. She's just asleep. She mentally, when she was awake, she basically told me all day, every day, what a piece of shit I am. Because that's how she felt about herself. My siblings were busy with their own things. They were older, 3 years older, and then my brother is 6 years older. So I started going to the government and saying I can't live at home, and they were asking why. And I was saying, it's not good at home. And I didn't want to rat her out. I was still very loyal to her. And I just didn't want to say what was going on. So it went back and forth. I had to fight for about a year first. And then I had 2 of my friends, I had an involuntary sexual encounter with them. They were 2 boys, 15, 16, and they were 5-6 years older than me, and it was a situation where they just took over me. And that was just a tipping point for me where I said, okay, my parents clearly cannot protect me from anything. My friends, my so-called friends, are not interested in anything that is good for me: drugs, alcohol, and now sex. And so I just made a decision to take it up on me, and I finally got put into like it's like a home where you still have contact with your family, and you still have contact with the officials, and they have to make a decision and determine if you're going to go actually live in an orphanage or in a home or not. And that place was supposed to be, I think, for 6 weeks. And I lived there, and my mom was playing her role every time we went home. She was, all dolled up and dressed up, and everything looked great, and she was in a good mood. And so they finally said, I think you need to go live home. You cannot tell us that there's anything bizarre about your home, and we can't find any evidence that you shouldn't live home. And so you have to go home. So, and I was in this institution, and I chose before age 12, I basically chose to try to take my life. So that was the tipping point. They basically said, okay, something is going on here. Something is not right. This kid needs help. So they asked me at the hospital, they asked me, which home do you want to live in? There was this nice lady, and let's just put you there, and then we figure it out. We figure out what's going on, but let's put you first there. So I went and lived there, and that place was amazing. It was just such a relief for me. I just was at home. Nobody was yelling at me. I just had food in the fridge. I just had a roof over my head. Everything was so normal. And that's all I wanted. I just wanted to have something normal. So I started thriving, and I had suddenly rules, and by about age 16, and they're therapists, and they try to reconnect you with your parents. So all that work was going on. But by the end of the day, I stayed there until I was about 16, and they said, "You're just ready to move into your own house or apartment if you would like to." And they give you a little budget to furnish your apartment. And I started working, and I started continuing my school. And before I went in there, Sean, I knew all these kids went in there, and they basically stepped into the footsteps of their parents. And I knew I didn't want that. I knew I wanted to prove to my parents and to my friends and to my family that it was not me, it was my environment. And I need to prove to you who I am. So I went on, and I started making my own money at age 16, living in my own apartment. And there was somebody from the government first checking on me, I think weekly, and then every, I don't know, monthly, and then 6 months, and then once a year. And they were always there for me, just a phone call away if I needed anything, until I was 18. And then, I just continued going to school, and I continued living my life, being a waitress, and then working. The universe always gave me opportunities. People came into my life, and I did great jobs and got management jobs, and I made plenty of money, and I just created the life that I wanted. Went for my bachelor's degree and then for my master's degree, and I'm now in a PhD program, and I have 2 kids and live with my husband. And really, I mean, on and on and on and on and on. It's just telling the story throws me back in there, but it was as bizarre as it sounds. I'm so happy that I got to do this and went through it, came out the other side, because I have such trust in myself. There's nothing that can come my way and I feel unprepared to attack it. I have created strategies and a mindset to just trust myself. I could have chosen to say, that's just life, and I am, I'm a victim of my environment, and I am just going to not do anything with my life.
Where do you suppose your determination really came from? Because, like you said, like almost all the kids who come out of situations that you came into, and they got put in this home, and all of them probably said to themselves that to some degree, like, I don't want that. I don't want to live like that. I don't want my kids living like that. And but most of them, we know statistically, are going to go down that same route. And it's the rare exception that really kind of not only survives it, but then thrives afterwards, like you have. So, where do you think your particular determination really came from? Where do you think it sprung from that kind of separated you from your peer group?
I think value for yourself in everybody has their own view of themselves. Everybody knows deep down there is a Sean inside of you that you maybe have not brought out yet. The best version of yourself, your highest self. That person, if you keep that in mind, whoever that is, that person that I respect, that person, me, you might have a different person, the person that I respect, the discipline behind getting the things that you want in life, and the faith and the imagination of this is going to happen. I know I am going to leave this home not doing the same. So I have created a vision of myself in 4, 5, 6 years, looking in a certain way, making a certain amount of money, and having disciplined myself to continue going to school and not doing the drugs and not doing the alcohol and not doing all of that. So I just trust this is going to happen for me. I trust myself, and then I work my ass off to get there. There's no deviation from, it's not just a bubble. People are, I think the difference is the others have chosen comfort and weakness versus me. And as harsh as it sounds, when you have the chance to say no because you have character and integrity, because you know who you are, my version of myself, when I saw my mom, she was a very, very, very strong, determined person. Drugs and alcohol took the rug out of, I mean, she fell. There is a fine line between who I am today, and I bring that every day into my life to remember this. There's a fine line between the person who is right now here and my mother. There are only a few decisions in between. And people don't realize that this is what makes the difference. All these little decisions, leaning into the weakness and the pleasure that's calling us to give us a short-term relief over sitting in your pain and dealing with it and saying, what is this pain teaching me? What this happened for me? I sat in it. Why is this happening? I have asked myself as a child, why is this happening to me over and over and over? And when you sit with it and you realize everybody around you is telling you, you're so strong. And when you say something, you do it. I realize this happened for me. This made me who I am. Thank you. Thank you for giving me this mother. Thank you for giving me this situation that I had no choice but getting out of. It's all perception.
Right. I think that's an important point to make because, like you said, it's a fine line between who your mother is and who you are right now.
Mm.
And it's all about just key decisions that we've made in our lives here. So, you chose to go one route. I mean, your mother self-medicated, very obviously. She was depressed, divorced, she had kids to raise. Culturally, she was in an alien environment. And all this kind of stuff just kind of besieged her. And she just gave into it. And you could have done the same with your own background, coming from this, horrendous background of abuse, and just kind of fell into it.
Yeah,
but you didn't do that, and it was just a few key decisions here and there, right?
It's accumulated, and I did go down that route. I got lost. So in my mid-20s, I was with a person who introduced alcohol into my life. So I was staying away from all of it because of my mother, and he introduced it, but in a way that was presented to me, drinking at home, really nice wines, really nice bourbon, and now we're fancy. We have some money and we're fancy and drinking fancy wine. And that got me. And I thought, it's not that bad if you drink that $100 bottle of wine or the $100 bourbon. And suddenly I didn't feel as bad about myself. But I did still in the beginning feel bad about my personality being altered. So I didn't drink outside. I just drank inside. And once I came to the US, it was all gone out the window. In college, everybody was drinking, day drinking. Drinking is just part of the culture, in Midwest at least. So I drank more and more. And it ended up being a glass of wine, for sure, a glass of wine on the weekends, every night, 2 glasses, then a bourbon, and then, it's summer, it's the Aperol Spritz, and so on. And I found myself suddenly drinking 3, 4, 5 times a week, going on vacation, all inclusive restaurants, have all this booze, and elevating my taste, basically. And that made me drift off very far from where I needed to go.
Right.
And even having that one glass that night where I had my breakdown, I had, I think, 1 glass of wine or 1 beer. And it was just against me. And I knew it. And I never put that glass down, because it was for me always I just need to relax. I just need to relax. I just need that glass of wine. But that glass of wine, these are the little decisions that we make that fill us with. First of all, you disconnect from your inner voice. You do not sit in the evening. You want that because you want to escape the feelings that come up in the evening. So you do not sit with it. So that day was wasted for me. I didn't learn anything from it. I didn't sit in my pain, whatever it was, when I was overwhelmed with my children. So, and I see now, unfortunately, it's just part of the culture. Everybody drinks and it's okay. And everybody gets wasted and it's okay. And I just see, I took it away out of my life, and it made a huge difference for me. Huge.
Yeah, alcohol consumption, not just in the Midwest, but everywhere in the United States and in Western civilization itself. If you look in England, France, that kind of stuff.
Germany.
I mean, Germany. Yeah, I mean, it's just the drinking is part of the socialization of people who live in these parts of the world, and almost to the degree, like, if you don't drink, you're almost considered asocial.
It's now my life. There's no way around it. First of all, people ask you why. Like, you're an alien. Why do you not drink? And secondly, I have lost so many friends that don't want to hang out with me anymore because I don't drink anymore. And I don't even allow drinking at my house because I don't want to have it around my children. And I always say, we don't have cocaine parties here. I don't care if it's legal or not. Just a little bit of cocaine. Nobody would notice, but we still don't do it. So have some respect for yourself, and don't do it around my children, so they don't want to come here anymore. And it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah. I gave up alcohol about at least 5 years ago now. And, I can say my life has definitely improved a great deal. I mean, there was times I had great fun while I was drinking. I also had times when I was in a stupor and the alcohol just took me down even further. I never did anything like attempted suicide or anything like that, but the thought every now and again did creep into my mind when I was at my lowest of lows. I guess I didn't have enough guts to actually go through with it. But it's but no, I get you. Yeah, you do lose a big part of your life, sadly, when you decide, well, you're not going to consume this legal drug anymore. And
I love it. I love it. I believe in the law of attraction, which is also the law of repellion, I hope you would say. I repel the people that I don't belong to anymore, and I attract the people that do belong into my life. So it's okay. It's okay.
Right.
And I upset people all the time because I don't think it's all the vices, whatever is calling you. If it's food addiction, if it's alcohol, if it's pot, whatever it is you're doing to escape your reality, let's make your reality so fun and so dope that you do not want to get out of it. What if you could make every hour of the day $3,000? Would you actually get wasted and waste your time like that? And I don't think so. I think people have given up hope on themselves, and I think people have given up to believe they can actually do better. And I am here to say, you can do better. If every day carving out the best of yourself, and it starts with fitness and nutrition. We need to get all the toxins out of your body. We need to make you proud. Go into the gym every day. is going to make you proud. Having a body that you can show without
Mm-hmm.
feeling ashamed is going to make you proud. The pride is, if you look on the I don't know if you're familiar with that, but on the energetic vibration scale,
I
it's
know a little bit about it.
much
Mm-hmm.
it's much higher. It's somewhere in the middle. When we drink, when we get wasted, when we don't remember, all these feelings, all that shame is right on the lowest. So you wake up the next day or in the middle of the night, and you have these feelings of, "Oh, what happened? Do I remember? What did I say?" All this shame is just going to attract more shit into your life.
Mm-hmm.
If you're willing to work, you can get to such much better places. You can get up and be excited without anxiety.
Right,
Gosh,
right.
this country is just like anxiety is just through the roof. Everybody is popping a pill today because that's just what they do.
Mm-hmm. So let's go into that. So let's go into your coaching program. So obviously, I think how you were raised, how you grew up, and how how your life unfolded has probably bled into how you coach people. And you've kind of already touched on that, saying like, well, people too often fall into comfort and
Mhm.
laziness, and this is,
Mhm.
a lot of people, particularly coaches, we're being taught to shy away from using these terms like comfort and laziness because they think it's too much of a judgment call um, against people that you may or may not even know very well. But I think if you know yourself pretty well and what got you down the road, that you're dealing with someone who's currently in that same position that you were once in, however many years earlier, you probably know why they got there and how they got there. So it's not too much of a a wild card assumption to know why they're there and what is troubling them. So I mean, you maybe want to use more diplomatic language than saying calling you a lazy bum or something like that. But I think that probably is, at least to some degree, a very accurate description of what's going on, because comfort's very easy. It's more easier now than ever before. Luxury and comfort are givens now. It's something that people expect. It's something that, you work during the week, you find your comfort on the weekend. You have these 2 days where you just kind of bum around and you do what you want, right? So,
Yes.
and, we stuff our lives with things like work and distractions and parties and kids and things like that. And what ends up happening is that our attention is everywhere but on ourselves. And so when we get to the point where, until the point we get there, we're, maybe 40 or 50 years old, we're seeing our image in the mirror and it's like, oh my God, I don't like that at all. But you really don't know where to start. I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but
No, it's fine. I mean, I want to hear all of that, really.
right, right. So I think like, so I wanted to talk about your coaching program here. So I saw something like you talk about the power of non-negotiable habits here. So talk to us about that.
So what I have discovered is people are lazy, and I don't even say it hard enough for two reasons. One, if I don't call people out on what they're doing, they're not going to wake up. If I comfort you in your inaction, I am helping you to get further down. And I'm not here to participate in your bullshit. I have to tell you, you are being weak and you're feeling sorry for yourself. You need to wake up and understand that if you're eating 25 donuts every day and you're 350 pounds, you are being selfish. And I know you don't feel that way, but at this point, you are a liability to everybody around you. Everybody has to take care of you. Nobody can talk about bikinis. Everybody feels like they have to tiptoe around you. So you're being selfish by saying, I want to eat at any time, anything I want. I want to drink whenever I want. I want to get out of bed whenever I want. So if we follow all these wants that are not helping us, versus following all these needs that are helping us, then you're not contributing to humanity. I'm sorry. Do I want to speak about all of this? No, but I have to, because I feel as if there's one soul, one teenager, one person that was in my shoes and is listening to this and saying, maybe this person can help me out, then it's my responsibility. So now I'm bringing value to the table, going beyond my comfort zone. I'm stepping out of my comfort zone. And when I speak like that on social media, just like that, because, Sean, if people feel attacked, then this is for you. It's a choice you're making when I say you're being lazy into the camera and they feel spoken to. So that's your conscience telling you, maybe you need to listen to this person. They're feeling attacked. That's a choice they're making. You're coming into my house on social media and listening to me. You know, if I tell you, you are a very bad speaker. And you're not, Sean. You're a very good speaker. So it wouldn't even bother you.
I
Right?
might believe it. Actually, I don't think I'm all that great of a speaker, but
You are a great speaker. But
I do my best.
yes, whatever it is that you're really good at, it just passes you. You don't even care about it because there's no evidence in your life that this is true. The only reason people feel attacked is because they feel threatened in their comfort zone. So now I'm threatening you in your comfort zone, and you have to make a decision. You either hate on me, or you say, maybe I need to put my ego down and listen to this person and say, can you help me? These are the only two choices there is. So I'm not going to anymore be domesticated by, what do I need to say to comfort everybody and be everybody's cup of tea? It's impossible. I'm just going to lose myself and what I like. I listen to the music that I like. I dress the way I like. I say the things that I think is true. And you know what? If next year I think a little bit differently about it, that's okay too. But I can sit with somebody at the table and say, let me listen to what you got to say. And let's talk about this. And we can get up and be still friends. But this is not very common here. People want to put you into a box and say, I'm going to leave you in there. You're wrong in everything you say. I don't even want to hear it. I only want to interact with people who think the same. Well, at this point, I'm not opening my mind to anything else.
How do people generally respond to that? I mean, I know you're no matter what you say on social media, you could be the nicest, gentlest, kindest thing anyway. You're going to get somebody chiming in saying, you know, you're a dumb shit, blah, 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 blah. I've had that happen so many times. I'm putting like so much positivity out there. I'm trying to say, you can do this for yourself, that kind of thing. And always I get some jerk in there who is just going to kind of like, you know, try to tear down everything I say.
You know
and then
why?
yeah, I know why, because they're insecure, and this is what insecure people do. They troll Facebook and they look for fights.
Not only that, the world is not as it is. The world is as you are. So so attitude is truly looking, if you're looking for anything, you're watching this podcast, somebody is listening to it, watching it, and they're going to try constantly to look for the bad, to look for the negative. Guess what? They're going to find it. They're going to find it. And this is how they go through life. They open the door. It's raining. My car didn't turn on. My shoes don't fit. Whatever it is, they didn't have the bread at the store that I wanted. Everything, if you want evidence for negativity in your life, you're going to find it. But you can use the same power and look for positivity in life. And so they're going onto your profile, and in their head, they're so miserable and they feel so bad about themselves that they have to reflect it onto you. It doesn't matter what you said. That's how they read it. This is how they receive the information. So On social media, of course, I get that shit. I get that
Yeah.
shit. And Sean, everything that I have heard before is happening. Your friends are not your friends. Your family is not going to like it. All of these things that all the people always say, it's happening. It's happening. And this is actually a good sign. It's a good sign because it's impossible that you have met so many people in your life that just by proximity and you're all on the same page. So I have
Right.
made very deep friendships through social media, very honest and deep. And I have lost friends and family. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and to
So,
my, yeah,
go ahead. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
about my program, this is what we do. We start you off. You have to, there's no way around it. We have to get you straight with your diet. I put you on macros. That means you have to eat a certain amount of protein, certain amount of carbohydrates, and a certain amount of fat. If you follow this, depending on where you start and what your goal is, but you'll be ripped and looking better than 95% of the people. On top of that, we are going to I have two apps. So the other app is basically for your workout routine. You're going to work out 6 to 7 times a week. And depending again on your goal and where you start, we're going to get you into shape. And then you feel a sense of pride. And at that point, we start adding more non-negotiable tasks to your plate every day. And the discipline brings always the best out of people. And depending, I have CEOs that basically they start far ahead, so they are already relatively disciplined compared to other people. So we have to tweak it a little bit. I give them macros and a workout plan, and then we have to just add more tasks to, like reading and writing and journaling and meditating and things that are just important to get yourself straight and find your true inner self. And that's it basically. We create habitually the person you needed, Sean, in your life. Whoever that is, you needed as a boy, as a man, the person we all wait for to come and save us and rescue us. You
Mhm.
create that person and then you go and give it back to the world.
So, as you're building these non-negotiable habits, okay, you start with one. You start maybe small, just getting like the numbers right, the macros,
Mm-hmm.
weight, that kind of thing here too. All the stuff that you can that's easily like tangible and quantifiable. How do you account for things that aren't so tangible, like mindset and spiritual health, however it might be? I'm not a religious person whatsoever. I don't go to church. I stopped believing that stuff when I was about 12. I wouldn't call myself an atheist. Um, I have spiritual guides, spiritual leanings. So I wouldn't say that philosophically I don't believe that there is no creator at all. But I definitely do not follow any denomination. I don't go to any houses of worship or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but that is part of what makes me me, is like that spiritual component. And that's something that you don't really easily define. So if that's and that means a lot to a lot of people. That's part of like this gentleman I spoke to a number of weeks ago. He what he is a part of, the organization he's a part of, they have they have a Christian slant to it. So they believe in building strength, getting healthy, and they believe that God has prescribed this. God commands them to be this way, to be strong and healthy, and to do good, and that kind of thing. So how would you really help someone along in that way?
I let everybody be as they are when it comes to that. In my opinion, all religions are speaking the same.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't go to church. I'm not Christian, I'm not Muslim, I'm not any of that either. But the quintessence of religion and being spiritual and believing in a higher power. Once I understood that this is all the same, it is all for me the same. So if you want to be Christian and go to church and do whatever you think belongs to that, then and it's forwarding you in life, it's not harming you, then I don't see any point in taking that or trying to bash it. It's right. So I don't really ask anyone if they belong to a religion when they get on my program. I just want them to understand that we are all part of nature. There are universal laws that we cannot escape. So if you think that you're so special, being different than a plant that is growing out of a seed towards the sun, then go ahead and do it. It's okay. But by the end of the day, we all have the same desires. We are unique in the way that we can contribute to humanity, in my opinion, and in very, very unique ways. But we all have the same problems. I see it with my clients. Everybody struggles with the same problems. Everybody wants to find a purpose. Everybody wants to find a direction. We have to get there first and foremost with your body and with your health. And I agree. If you are toxifying your body with vices, with gambling, TV, if you throw garbage in, you will get garbage out. So you have to be very intentional about what you eat, how you move your body. If you're going to read a book, what kind of book it is. So we do talk about those things. And I don't have to tell them become spiritual. In this process, they come up with questions and start connecting with themselves and experience it. There is no magic pill. And for some people, it happens earlier, and for some later. I don't speak about that at all. We have non-negotiable habits, and they will see suddenly questions, and they get downloads, and they get connections to the universe. It just happens magically, constantly. We experience the same.
Right. So what are the key habits? There is, you marked out the key habits of happiness and health. You may have already touched on it already with the non-negotiables.
Yes.
But kind of go into a little bit. Is there a more of expansive definition of that in terms of like what happiness and health is and what those key cornerstones can be?
Happiness, everybody, again, is looking for happiness. Happiness lies in the journey of feeling free. When you realize that your life is under control, when you are not that victim anymore to your own story that you're telling yourself constantly, I'm not a morning person. I don't want to get up. I'm not a good writer. I'm not a good speaker. Whatever the story is you're telling yourself, you need to stop that. So negative thoughts, thought patterns, big one. We create those habits habitually, getting up early, earning your right, being thankful for this life, going to the gym, going eating healthy, nourishing your body, nourishing your mind with a good read, a good book. Write out loud what your thoughts are. What are your regrets from yesterday? What did you do? Did you go gamble? Did you go to the strip club? Did you watch the porn? What is it that you truly don't want to do, but you have constantly this calling? What is it? Are you anorexic? What is it that is specifically to you a problem? And we're going to create non-negotiable habits around that. It's very individual, but the key components are always workouts and nutrients.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else we custom even more. So what is Sean's problem? What are we dealing with? And discipline will beat it out of you. It would just fall off. You have to trust there's a good future.
Right. One thing I do tell people I work with is that you expect failures. Expect that you're going to slip up. It happens. We're all people. We have moments of weaknesses, and that just kind of happens. Now, it's going to happen. I've rarely met a flawless person who has never really hit a wall somewhere or has slipped up somehow or has given in to some sort of weakness. But one, like you said, you don't accept what you did as being okay. And two, you have to be able to pick yourself up and keep going and expect more from yourself. And actually, that's how you grow. You fall apart to varying degrees. You slip up, and then you learn, and then you keep going. You get up and keep going. Do you agree with that?
Yes, I agree for sure with we grow and failure is part of it. Mm-hmm. I don't understand why people try to avoid failure. It is, as silly as it sounds, just like that baby that starts walking. Right. It will never, ever get up and walk. Failure is part of it. Yeah, go ahead.
I could probably tell you why. I can tell you why. Because school tells you that mistakes are bad.
Domestication.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not true. And here's the other thing. It's not just failure. So if I am on a deficit and if I'm not eating, if I want to lose weight, so obviously I'm not eating 5,000 calories, but I have been eating 5,000 calories. Now I'm hungry. I find myself hungry. This is your calling. You asked for something. You asked the universe for being healthy, for being strong. The universe is giving you challenges to overcome those and say, I built this person. If it would be easy, it wouldn't be worth it. This is just part of the journey. You're going to have this call, and sometimes maybe you're going to slip, but consistency is always going to bring you to your goal. You just have to put the timeline out. Don't think that you ate for 45 years like a garbage container, and now suddenly after 3 months, you're going to look like a pinup model. It just doesn't work that way. So just relax for a second, learn new habits. Let's take this by the root and just start from scratch, rethink, learn something new.
Exactly right. There's no growth without failure.
Yeah.
And like I said before, it's like I know why people think that failure is such a bad thing, and it's because I can tell you why I thought that. It's because school taught me that, school is all about judging you on marks and getting the right answers.
Yeah.
And if you don't get the right answer, especially if it's something very objective, like maybe mathematics or science or something like that, if you don't have the right answer, if you didn't get to the right answer definitively, then it's just wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess that's a little bit different here because, you can take a route, with formulas and equations, stuff like that, and you can get to the point and say, well, that answer doesn't make any sense, and then you do it again, and then eventually you do arrive at the right answer. So I guess that's probably more analogous to what we're talking about here. But on the whole here, you feel like you've been penalized for making a mistake here, and then we carry that into adulthood, and so this kind of carries over into adulthood, and we, as adults, we get fearful of doing anything that would challenge us and cause us to make mistakes, and so we fall into this culture of comfort and luxury, and we don't stray from it very much, or we're very fearful of going outside of what is known to us. And I see this all the time in people that I see. I try talking them into doing things or try talking them into pursuing certain things, and there's a heavy amount of resistance towards it because things are not great, but things are stable now, and this would make things rather unstable.
It's the most stupid thing they can do. Because what are you afraid of? Losing the shitty life that you have already? It doesn't make sense at all. The fear is the number one problem holding people back. Mm-hmm. For you starting a podcast, it must have been a challenge, whatever the challenge was. If it was technical, finding a platform, finding guests, whatever it is, speaking more clearly, what questions. I mean, all of the things that you had to learn to finally successfully set up a podcast made you a better person. So the real question is, who do you need to become in order to be your true self? Who do you need to become to attract the things that you want in life? And you will never get there in your comfort zone, you idiot, because what you have been doing has led you to the life that you have. So let's try something new in order to get a different outcome. It is an equation, and people have struggling problems. They struggle understanding, if I keep doing the same things, I'll get the same outcome.
Yeah.
So the Sean today is a different Sean maybe from 6 months ago, or whenever you started your podcast, or a year ago.
Yeah, it's been a year.
It's a year ago, and you had to go through something, and it meant growth for you. If we're not growing, we're dying.
Right.
So don't stay in your comfort zone. Don't stay in your same house, same job, same partner, same kids, same vacation, everyday Florida, Destin, whatever it is. I mean, then you're surprised that you don't feel good about yourself. It's very simple. The blueprint is simple. Execution to get somebody to do something. They're on the women. I have such problem getting the women to even go into the weight room. Just going into the weight room.
Yeah.
To lift.
That continues to be such an issue too. And then the gym I go to, you see women lifting weights all over the place. So you kind of think, well, that this is becoming more mainstream for women to do strength training. But then, overall, these weight rooms are definitely dominated by men still. And it's not like they're saying, honestly, the guys in there, they don't mean to make it a boys' club. They just kind of, congregate there, and it's just, and when you're the one and only female, and if you're only like maybe 5'3" tall, and you're surrounded by all these bulky guys, then it's kind of an intimidating environment.
And I used to be there. I used to think, oh my God, I don't belong here. And now I go to the gym, and I tell you, I kid you not, you can check out my Instagram. Not only do 10 men in the morning come at 4:30 with me, on top of that, I'm the most ripped of all, and they ask me for advice, and I have earned my place there.
Nice.
I have just earned it. Just go and do the things that are uncomfortable, and then you own it, and then you go and you're the boss there because nobody else did it. So there's only beauty waiting behind that wall of fear. That is, you have only imagined that. It's not the man's fault at all. It is your projection of your insecurities again onto the world. The world is not as it is. It is really as you are. If you're insecure going in there, then they're gonna, then that's how it is. Then that's how your world is.
So, okay, so you have 2 children of your own, correct?
Correct.
So how do you, just with your own childhood as a frame of reference, how do you raise your own children? Because one thing I've noticed, like people who come from very traumatic backgrounds, very, very traumatic, or just not very happy backgrounds where their childhood was not a happy time of their lives, typically they avoid having children because they don't want to perpetuate that trauma onto another one. So it's almost like an altruistic kind of choice to not allow this to continue on. But you have children. I assume they're fairly young in age.
Yes. My daughter is 6. She just turned 6, and my boy is 2. He's going to be 3 in June. So I was 36 when I had my daughter. Right. And honestly, I didn't want to have children. Similar reasons. I didn't know these were the reasons, but until I met my husband, and it was he kind of brought that out of me. To want to have children and want to get married. But honestly, Sean, when I had my daughter, my whole world stopped. I didn't know what was happening. All my trauma from my childhood came out, and I didn't understand. If you really feel this way about a child, how could my parents have done that? How is that possible? All of the trauma came out. I had to work through all of that. And again, I don't see it as, I never saw it as a sad childhood. I saw it as is. It was a childhood that was given to me. Thankfully, I made it through. My siblings did not make it very well through. My brother is not very, he can hardly pay his bills. And my sister is in and out of a mental institution. So thank God. Thank God I had the strength and came through. And with my children, I'm very militant and disciplined with them. However, I find always time to also be the loving mom. But my
Mm-hmm.
children, when we get up in the morning, they have responsibilities. And I just, you know, little things like you need to brush your teeth, you need to wash your face, you need to eat your breakfast, you need to put your clothes on. We have a checklist for Emilia since she is a little bit older. So she has to get herself ready. I teach her about food. When we eat foods, what I just tell her the story of, this is something I learned from my mom. My mom was a great, great mom until she was not. When we eat or drink something, I just, as we are eating and drinking, telling her what the vitamins are inside of those foods, and what they do for us, and they are good for us, and how the sugar and the flour and all whatever it is just not helping us. So she voluntarily eats, and they enjoy good foods. They're kids, they still like sugar, they still get their sugar. However, I don't love them with sugar. I don't put that band-aid on. I don't drink because I don't want them to. Kids, it doesn't matter what you say to them. You have children.
Yeah.
They will just mock you. They will do what you do. They watch me work out, so they work out. They watch me eat healthy, so they eat healthy. They watch me do all. They have seen a huge change. Everything I do has only benefited my children, my husband, everybody around me, my friends. I have influence, and once you speak about it on social media, I don't know how many people reach out to me and say, thank you for saying this, thank you for helping me, thank you for this, thank you for that. It's just when you find what is meant for you, I could never go back. I could never go back to not speaking about it and not helping people. So my kids get raised and they see it all the time. People come to my house that are, if they're living in town, who are sick, and I help them, and my children see that. I'm very open about everything I do.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Do
how
you
I
think?
raised my children. Yeah.
Do you think that you've succeeded in your goals?
You mean long-term goals, generally speaking?
Generally speaking, like, because like you said earlier that you made yourself pretty much a roadmap when you were very young. You were 16. You were emancipated. You were on your own, living on your own.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely was not living on my own at 16. I don't. Yeah, most of us here in the United States,
No. Yeah.
we are still living at mom and dad's and stuff
Yeah.
like that, and we're still more or less dependent on them. We're starting to get our independence more and more through getting a driver's license and that sort of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
But it's a very small step towards full independence, and you were living on your own.
Yeah.
And so you had probably you had big ideas and big goals ahead of
Yeah.
you, probably
Yeah.
more than you really articulated at the time.
Yes.
And as we go along here, we tend to just keep adding to it. Our goal changes more and more and more. It becomes more expansive because we see the potential growing, and we see that we can do more and more and more, and so we want to do more. Are you at a place now where you feel like, you know what, I've really kicked ass in life?
No.
I'm not going to quit, but man, I feel good about myself.
No. I feel good about myself. I love waking up. I love my routine. I love my life. But for me, it's not, what do I, yes, there are material things that I want in life.
Mm-hmm.
But my focus is, who do I need to become? I'm carving out all the layers of shit that have been piled onto me throughout my young adulthood. I'm taking all the layers off. I'm working every day, getting more and more and more closer to that person. Who do I need to become? I have a vision. I have a big vision. And every time I achieve something, I push the goal further out. So in my big, big, big vision, it's ridiculous how big it is. And then I go and I break it down into all these little things that I need to do daily. This is it. You daily create habits that align with the goal you want. And over the course of the next, I don't know, 10, 15 years, hopefully I can say I'm finally the person I have always been. Now I have carved her out entirely and I know
Mm,
exactly who I am. But it's a daily process. And I have bad days. I
yeah.
have days where I doubt myself, but those bad days are there, so I know what the good days look like. I just have to. My system is I don't fall onto depression and suicidal anymore. I fall onto my system that is always going to hold me at a level that is still higher than anybody else. On my bad days, I'm doing better than anybody else around me. So on my good days, I'm thriving. But those days, everybody can enjoy good days, right? What are you doing on your bad days when you don't want to get out of bed, when you don't want to uh, do the laundry, when you don't want to play with your children, when they get annoyed, when your clients bail out on you, when whatever happens, who are you on those days? The system keeps me alive. This is what people need. You need a system you fall back onto on your bad days. You just
Mm,
continue pushing because you know good days are coming anyway.
right.
That's all.
So,
That's all I do. That's it.
so talk to him as we start to wind down here. Gone on over an hour here in time. We talked about a lot.
Yes.
We covered a lot. You've given us a lot to really think about. So we have a closing tradition on the program where I like to ask the guests, because we speak about so much and people can only retain so much at one time here. If you would leave people one thing and one thing to remember, what would it be?
May it be a sentence.
May it be a sentence, yeah?
I want to tell people the feeling they always have and they always had inside their chest, that they're meant for something bigger, is true. They have to claim it and believe in it. It is true. It's waiting for you. Trust your inner voice and you will get there. Everybody knows there is a force inside of them that needs to come out. That person is there and you are right. That's it.
Wonderfully said. And
Thank you.
if I may, I would add on to that. If it feels difficult, if it feels really, really hard, it means you're doing something right. It
Yes.
means you're moving in the right direction. Change is always hard, and the compulsion to step back and go back in the other direction and start regressing is always going to be there as a temptation. But if you just give into that and you start going back in the other direction, in the long run, you're going to hate yourself for it.
Regret is your guideline.
Regret is horrible. It's the worst thing ever.
Is your guideline. You regret it, don't do it.
Right. Toktam Thomas, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for being so open, so candid, and giving us so much to really learn from. A lot of people, not a lot, but some people when they come on here, they're cagey. I can tell they're nervous about saying too much, and they worry about how it's going to come across if they say this, that, or the other. And so, when you have someone who can come on and they can really kind of open up, and this is really the language of the brain, of the human brain is when people can really communicate on a deeper level, rather than just kind of going through, the fundamentals of their program and stuff. Like, we can learn all that from your website. I can go on your website and learn everything about your coaching program, but I don't. And I can read your biography too, but my own voice reading your words is not the same as hearing it from your mouth.
Yes.
And that matters a lot here too. So I know people deeply appreciate it when a guest can do that for them. So thank you again. Again, happy Mother's Day to you. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there who are listening to this right now or will listen to it in the future, even if it's past Mother's Day. Appreciate you all, and I appreciate you, Toktam Thomas.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you for having me.
Where can people find you the most? I'll put all your social media and website stuff in the show notes like I do with everyone else, but where can people find you?
I am on Instagram at Toktam Thomas, and that's where you find me. Toktam Thomas, Thomas.
Right.
And shoot me a DM. That's the quickest way. And you can also obviously go through my website, and once you click the button, you will actually be talking to me. So that's my personal phone right there, and we'll be texting or calling. So there's no robot in between. Is
the website attached to your Instagram? Is that in the
it is a new website that I would like to share with you. It is not on my Instagram. It's tt-health.com.
tt-health.com. Okay.
Correct.
Okay. That's easy enough to remember.
Yes.
All right. So, all right. Well, again, thank you so much. And thanks to everyone who is listening. Again, I want to say happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. Enjoy your day. Know that you're appreciated. Mom, if you're listening, I don't know if you ever will, but I love you. So, and I shot her a text earlier. So she's probably still sleeping. So she'll get it at some point. She'll respond to it probably about 3 p.m. But thank you again to everyone who's been listening. This is the Fitness Reborn podcast. Again, my name is Sean. My guest today has been Toktam Thomas. She is a mindset, fitness, nutrition, and health coach. Yes. Incredible background, incredible advice. Check her out on her social media. Reach out to her if you would like. Until next time, everybody, move forever. Peace out. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.